I'm Geraldine Herbert. I do the motoring, and I'm here to answer some of your motoring questions this morning.
Okay, so the first one is, hiya, I'm looking for a family car and have a budget of around 25k. Can you recommend?
Okay, 25,000, right. Assuming that you don't need a seven-seater or anything like that, so you're an average kind of two children family. Again, I don't know what your mileage is, so I'll give you a few recommendations. If you were looking for diesel, I would recommend something like the Ford Kuga or the Hyundai Tucson. If you do less than about 20,000 kilometres, then you should be looking really at petrol. In terms of petrol, a good choice would be the Nissan Qashqai. There are loads of them around. They've been a bestseller for years. So, no, even if you wanted to go lower in budget, you get them. Another good option is the Peugeot 3008. It's a beautiful looking car. It drives beautifully, stunning interior as well. You could also, depending again on your mileage and the sort of driving you do, you could look at a hybrid. Hybrid options would be maybe a Toyota CHR. Only thing about that, it'd be slightly smaller than the ones I've recommended already. You could also look at a Kia Niro. There wouldn't be a huge amount of those around, but they are an option. And finally, if you're going to go electric, you could consider something like the Nissan Leaf. It's been around in various different versions since 2011, so there are second-hand ones, or you get a relatively new one for that sort of budget.
Okay, so can you recommend an automatic car with a very large boot?
An automatic car with a very large boot. Yeah, there's one that stands out definitely, and that would be a Skoda Superb. It has a good DSG box. That's the automatic. The boot is enormous. It will take a double buggy, golf clubs, the whole lot, all at the one time. Plus, they've been around for a long time, so no matter what your budget is, you should be able to pick one up.
Okay, so somebody's looking for a used family car that's reliable, cheap to run with a decent room inside, and they have a budget of about 15k.
Okay, decent room inside. Probably not the most popular in terms of now people are looking at SUVs and stuff, but like MPVs are really where the value is. I would look at something like a Ford C-Max, or maybe there would be a lot of those around, or maybe something like an Opel Meriva. You mightn't find too many of them, but they are around, and they're really, really spacious inside, and they're good, solid, reliable cars. So I'd look at something like that.
Okay, so somebody says they're thinking of buying a more environmentally friendly car, but they're confused about the options. So they want to know, what's the difference between a BEV, a hybrid, and a PHEV?
Okay, all these complicated terms. Right, a BEV is basically a battery electric vehicle, so that's a purely electric car. So if you think of something like a Nissan Leaf, so that needs to be plugged in, the battery needs to be charged, and that's how you drive it. That's where the power comes from. A hybrid then, now hybrids have been on the road since the first one would have been probably the Toyota Prius, so 1997, they've been around for a very long time. I suppose the joy of a hybrid is it has an electric motor and a petrol engine, so you don't have to drive it any differently, you don't need to charge it, you don't need to do anything. As you're driving it, the electric motor is recharged by sort of the energy in the car, so every time you brake or you accelerate or anything like that, all of that energy has been harnessed and it charges the battery, so it charges on the go. You don't have to do anything else with it. Now, a PHEV or a plug-in hybrid is essentially, it's a hybrid in the sense that it has electric motor and usually a petrol engine, but it does also have a diesel engine at times, and there are options like that. But the difference is you can actually charge the electric battery directly, so you can plug it in, and it means you get an awful lot more out of the electric battery than you would in a hybrid. So you can actually drive it for maybe 50 kilometres on purely electric. So it works really, really well if you're somebody who does very short commutes, maybe 30 kilometres, 25 kilometres round trips. You could do them nearly completely on electric power, and yet you still have the consolation of a petrol or diesel engine.
Okay, so this question comes up every time, but really torn about going for PCP or a car loan. Can you suggest?
Okay, the benefit of a car loan is that you will buy it outright. So you borrow the money from the bank or the credit union or whatever, and then you buy the car. So you own the car. So if you run into any difficulty, you change jobs, something happens, whatever, your financial circumstances change, that car is yours, you can sell it. The other advantage of actually owning a car is that if you do high mileage or whatever, it's your car, you don't have any terms and conditions to meet. Now, the benefit, I suppose, of PCP is you're not buying the car outright. You're actually only getting the use of it. And you have three options with a PCP. You can, at the end of the contract, you can hand back the keys, you can roll on to another PCP, or you can buy the car outright. But the real advantage, I suppose, with the PCP, as I said, is that you're not buying it outright, so therefore the repayments are much lower. You're only getting the use of it. You're getting a brand new car at a much more reduced rate. But the negative is you don't own it at the end. PCPs don't really work for buying a car. If you're buying a car and you want to own it at the end, you really would be better off going with a car loan. The only thing I would say about a PCP as well is if you've high mileage, then PCP is not for you, because the dealer wants to preserve the value in that car, and by putting high mileage on it, you're not doing that. So therefore they don't really want anybody who does anything more than about 15,000 kilometres. So it comes down to what you want to own at the end of the 3 years and your sort of mileage as to what decision you make.
Okay, so the last question is, I'm thinking of buying a new car, but I'm not really sure what model is the best. Which would you recommend between a Merc, a BMW or a Lexus?
Well, with the Lexus, you get the advantage of a hybrid. So going forward, it's probably going to become more expensive to own and run petrol and diesel cars. So you might want to keep that in mind. So hybrid is always a good option. Between Mercedes and BMW, there isn't a huge amount of difference, really. What you really want to look at is this, I suppose, number one, is there a dealership near you? Look at the servicing differences between the two of them. I suppose the options, but both would be both would be good brands. So as I said, the only thing about a Lexus I would look at over the other two is long term, the depreciation value might be better on a Lexus, because as I said, I would look at petrol and diesel in terms of just the running costs are going to be more expensive long term. Okay, thank you for that.